Hello and welcome back to LFC Transfer Room. Today we're here for the Premier League show. And yeah, look, normally doing this we would go from 12:30 to 3 o'clock to 5:30, but after that result just now, I think we're going to go straight to the 5:30 game. Liverpool, Manchester United 0, Brentford 4. I'm today joined by Damon and Tino. First of all, Damon, I'll start with you. How are you feeling after that? It's unbelievable, isn't it, really?
Manchester United tears, my friend. Manchester United tears. I love it. Absolutely love it, honestly. I don't know where these Man United fans think they're going. I honestly don't. I don't know. They've got Ten Hag in to do what? To ruin his career as well? Come on, let's just sit back. I know we can laugh at our result last week, but, you know, Man United just always make us 10 times happier, don't they?
Yeah, look, to be fair, like some of those decisions in that game, Ten Hag isn't going to be in a job for much longer, is he? Like, you can blame it on the players and stuff, but look, Ten Hag isn't doing any favours, Tino, for the team, is he? Like, what are they playing at? Every single person there is just absolutely mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a mad game. First half was just, I think everybody's just shocked. It's just, you've got to look back and try and think of it and look at it and think, right, he's very early on in his career. He's trying to, the team are trying to learn to play the way he wants to play, playing out from the back. But you go, it seems like it's a lack of experience, maybe. You can't go to a team like Brentford, who are very physical on the ball, very good in the air, and think you can play a 5'9" centre back and try and play out from the back. The best teams can, Liverpool and Manchester City can, but when you're trying to learn that managers, the new style, the new way of playing, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to get dominated all game. And I didn't see any fight. I really, really didn't see any fight at all from any of those United players. Not one of them wanted it. Not one of them was up for the scrap almost. It was an atrocious performance by Manchester United. Gladly, I'm very happy about that, as I'm sure you guys are, but just, yeah, not good enough from the United's perspective at all, but it certainly makes my day much, much better.
I think they need to take some tips off their fan base, don't they, regarding no fight or anything like that. They fight each other, don't they? So they could watch the crowd for a little bit.
Possibly.
To be fair, you have to give a lot of credit to Brentford. How good were they today? Like, you see that United aren't 100% at the minute. Well, nowhere near 100%. And they took advantage of it. Teams in the past kind of been a bit scared. Oh, it's still Manchester United, massive establishment, massive club. But fair play. Now, Brighton last week, Brentford this week. Teams aren't scared of Man United anymore, are they, Damon?
No, I mean, they're going for it. I mean, we wanted this for years, didn't we? I mean, throughout the 90s and 2000s, the teams just sat back against Man United and didn't dare go for it. We're like, come on, they're there to be beaten. They can beat them. And now it's just sort of like teams are going there knowing that they can win. I saw a question the other day on Twitter saying, will it be a shock like Man United, can you see Man United dropping points? It's the wrong way around. It's, can you see Brentford dropping points? I mean, we need to get this narrative that Man United are a big team anymore, because they're not.
Yeah, they certainly aren't. They really aren't. They've gone drastically downhill. Gladly, and I know as Liverpool fans, we understand it from their perspective. A huge team wanting to go on. We had it for 30 years where it was on again, off again. The odd title challenge here and there, the odd cup run and things like that. But United seem to want to blame it on the owners as well, which I find very bizarre. Don't get me wrong. They're not the greatest owners in the world. They've certainly got a lot of problems, a lot of debt and financing everything off debt, not invested in the training ground, not invested in the actual Old Trafford, which is a mess. It's meant to be one of the biggest grounds in the world, and it's atrocious. But consistently, they give managers 150 million pounds a year. They back the managers, and it just seems like either the picking the wrong managers, or maybe the structure of the club, the wage structure, the players they get in. It just, every single thing seems to go wrong for Manchester United since Fergie left. And as much as it's great to see, the United fans will be hating it. because and we as Liverpool fans certainly know how it feels to see a team that you adore and a team that you love go from one of the best teams in the world and up there with the best teams in the world to sort of gradually declining. And I think we all remember the Hodgson era and such. So it's as much as it's great to see, the United fans seem to have this odd belief that it's all down to the owners when in reality that club and the structure and the way it's run, it from head to toe, from the owners to the playing staff to the team, the directors and things, from top to bottom, is very, very poorly organized and poorly run.
I think it starts from the top, though, doesn't it? I think that's what you got to look at it, because they're the ones paying these players. They're the ones giving the contracts out. They're the ones paying Murta, thinking Murta's the right person, thinking Richard Allen's the right person. The one keeping on Ed Woodward for 7 years. Was he there for Ed Woodward? When he was basically a laughing stock of football, and they kept him there for that long. So I think it does start with the owners. I can get it with my United fans. I can get why they want the owners out, because at the end of the day, yeah, they can give them the money, but there's no good giving them money when they're giving it to clowns. And they're the clowns that they're contracting in. They're the clowns that they're employing. They're employing Murta that's going to go to Barcelona, like Bill and Ben, and try to sort a Frenkie de Jong deal out. And it's not 6 months later, they're still in Barcelona, booking new flights, new hotel rooms because they've run out of their hotel. At the end of the day, it is down to the owners, and it's the same with Liverpool. If things go wrong, it will go to them in the end, because they're the ones running the club. They're the ones seeing over the rest of the club, really, and seeing over whoever's in charge and whoever's in charge of the footballing business side of it.
Yeah, I think we could be talking about Man United for the whole hour. So we're going to try and move on. But yeah, we'll end it now. Tino, if you had to kind of put it into sort of one sort of description, one word, how would you describe that Man United performance today? What do you think particularly went wrong? If you had to lay it down just to one thing, I know there's a combination of factors, but if you had to just put it on one thing, what would you say it was?
Oh, if I had to think about one thing, fight, the desire, the determination to actually battle and go play for your manager. If it don't work out in the first 10 or 15 minutes and you're trying to play your game, you've got to try and you've got to put in effort. I didn't see any effort from any of those United players. And that's a key thing that they've been missing for a number of years now.
Damon asked you the same question as well.
Fans have allowed this to happen at Man United. They're the ones going out there saying Glazers out. They're the ones going into the superstores, buying a shirt and still saying Glazers out. They're the ones that live off the hype of their players, saying Rashford's the next this. Bruno should be compared to Gerrard. Aaron Maguire's a Beckenbauer. At the end of the day, it comes down to them, and they're the ones that can change the club. And they're the ones that will try to change the club next week when they do their annual walkout.
Yeah, you see, during lockdown it didn't work. I can't see any reason why it didn't work last time, and I can't see any reason why it's not going to work again, if that makes sense, if I've phrased that correctly. But yeah, I think when we move on to the next game, we'll go, instead of going, I know we started with a 5:30 game, so we may as well move backwards to the 3 o'clock game, and we'll start off with Southampton Leeds. Leeds with 2-0 up. Rodrigo with 2 goals. He scored last week as well. It looks very, very good now. He's coming to form. And then Southampton, though, kind of been tipped to go down the season. Goals from Joe Aribo, who's just come from Rangers, and then Kyle Walker-Peters equalised the game, and it showed real good fight from them, didn't it, Tino?
Oh, it did, yeah. It's always nice to see a comeback, especially when you're 2-0 down on more. So it is really nice to see a comeback. I do rate Joe Aribo. He's a very talented young lad, and Southampton have done quite well to get him. I do think Southampton are missing maybe another striker. They've got to replace Amanda Brozier from last season. And if I'm honest, for Leeds' perspective, I was very negative towards Leeds. In the predictions before the start of the season, I was talking about who I think would go down, and I said Leeds United. Leeds United, along with Fulham and Bournemouth, are the only other club that I see going down. I don't trust Jesse Marsch as a manager. And if I'm being honest, at this when they went 2-0 up, I was thinking, oh, maybe I've made the wrong decision. Maybe I judged him too harshly. And then come the end of the game, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think he's got what it takes. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Marsch in his managerial career to suggest that he's going to be a top manager at the top level. The signings are very good, don't get me wrong. They've replaced some very tough players to replace in Calvin Phillips, but I think the fact that they were 2-0 up and to throw away a lead in that nature is poor. It's very, very poor from Leeds United. I think overall, though, I think it's a fair point. I think both of those teams are going to be struggling come the end of the year with regards to relegation. So I think it's a fair point. But yeah, I think the Leeds United fans will be gutted, definitely gutted.
Patrick Bamford went down with an injury as well last season. He saw it happened. He was pretty much out of the entire campaign. And in my opinion, a big reason why it was so hard for Leeds and why they found themselves in a relegation scrap. I think that could be the same this year now. It looks like it's going to be long-term, not a short-term one. So bringing Dan James on up front, it's not ideal whatsoever, is it, Damon?
Not really, but I think Vigo's doing all right, though, isn't he? I mean, he got 2 today, so at least someone's stepping up. Last season, they had no one stepping up. I mean, Bamford was heavily relied on before he got injured, and when he got injured, that was it, really. That's, like you said, they got into a relegation battle, a bit like Everton, really, when they lost Calvert-Lewin. It was quite similar the way they did it. Both teams, as soon as they lost the main man up front, they struggled and ended up being in a relegation battle. But Leeds have shocked me as well, like Tino. I expected them to be in a relegation fight. I know it's only 2 games in, they still might be in a relegation fight. They still might go down yet, but you know they've shown a bit of character already. I mean, win last week and then this week again. I know that 2-2 in the end, but to be 2-0 up away to Southampton is not an easy task for a club like Leeds at the moment. So I think they'd be happy with a point and 4 points altogether. So what more can you ask?
100%. And moving on to Arsenal Leicester now. Arsenal had a great start to their campaign last season. Absolutely fantastic result away to Palace, like a potential slip up there for them. And they did really, really well. But today it was a different challenge and they made it through. Something you haven't been able to say about Arsenal teams in the last decade or so. Gabriel Jesus, what a player he looks to be for Man City. Unbelievable. See that finish?
It was unbelievable. It was a truly phenomenal finish. You look and you think, is that potentially goal of the season already this early? We were talking before. There was a lot of shorts on the channel about what we all thought of Premier League predictions, and I was getting ripped a bit by a lot of the LFC transfer room lads with my shouts about Arsenal going to get top 4 and Arsenal going to and shouting out some of the Arsenal players, Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus. And I'm kind of glad that it's all coming to fruition now. I'm kind of glad that they're playing well to a certain extent. 50 million for Gabriel Jesus is at this stage looking like a steal. He played brilliantly in pre-season. He's transitioned that into the start of the Premier League. 2 goals today, a phenomenal finish. Arsenal conceding 2 goals, making it a bit of more of a close game than they probably would have liked. Isn't great, but the response immediately after the finishing those conceding those goals was top draw. Leicester, you've got to be worried. If you're a Leicester fan, you've got to be worried. You really do have to be worried. Selling the captain, looking at potentially losing another 3 huge names from that dressing room. Jamie Vardy's getting older. If they don't bring in anybody soon, they're going to struggle. They are really going to struggle this season. They struggled with set pieces all last season. And again, in this game, they really did struggle. So Leicester, it's going to be a long, long season for those Leicester players and the Leicester fans, which is not not really something I like to see for Leicester. They're very much I don't know if you can hate Leicester, to be honest. They're one of those teams that I look at and think, decent team, fan base seem like level-headed people, but I think they're really going to struggle.
Yeah, and obviously the 3 o'clock games aren't on TV in the UK, so it's kind of hard to judge for us to sit here and say, oh yeah, Arsenal played an absolutely fantastic game. If you look through the stats, which I got up here real quick, you can see 19 shots for Arsenal, only 6 for Leicester, 7 on target for Arsenal, only 2 for Leicester, 51% possession to Arsenal, so 49 to Leicester. So on the whole, you could say it was kind of even in a way with the possession, but then Arsenal just in the final third, it's just something else. And I think having that number 9 now with Jesus is massive. It changes their dynamic, doesn't it? And then with Leicester, you look at it and think, well, one of the goals, they got really lucky with the own goal, Saliba. So it's not promising for them really either, is it, Damon?
No, I mean, the Arsenal thing, I go back to my United fans with this, because my United fans are the ones that called Arteta out early on, saying Ole's better than him and things like that. But the way Arteta's gone around Arsenal is how Man United should be going around their squad, and getting rid of the bad players, the players that are dragging them down. Like, you talk about this week about Rashford being linked to PSG, and Man United fans are like, no, please don't get rid of Rashford. Why? Because he's dragging you down. Arsenal did that with Aubameyang. Arteta saw a problem, got Aubameyang straight out. He said, look, I'm building a team here, and if you're not down, you're not down. You can go. That's how it should be. That's how Man United should be with Ronaldo. That's how they should be with Rashford. If you're not down to come on this journey with us, then you can go. Because at the end of the day, to back up to the top, you need everyone on the same path. You need everyone on board, and that's what Arsenal are doing right now. And that's what we're seeing. That's why we're seeing now results on the pitch when we get like Martinelli, Saka, such a brilliant spine they're getting there now. A brilliant young team. I mean, we got the oldest team last week in last week's penalty fixtures, and Arsenal, what did they have, the youngest? That says it all. I think what they're doing right now is exactly what other clubs should be doing. And I think that's what I'm hoping Liverpool start doing, that in terms of looking at the future now and bringing in the fresh faces and bringing in youngsters like that and building around them. Because at the end of the day, you can't rely on veterans for the rest of your life. Arsenal doing it the right way, and there you go. Results today. I mean, 4-2. Absolutely fantastic result last week. I went to Palace. Like you said, not an easy place to go at all. Palace get some results against some big teams, and they went there and nilled them. So, yeah, fair play to Arteta and fair play to Arsenal.
Yeah, things are definitely looking on the up for Mikel Arteta this season. And I'm sure Arsenal are going to finish top 4. I predicted it for the start of the season. But, yeah, now I'm pretty confident that Arsenal are set to finish inside the top 4. But, yeah, moving on to Brighton, Newcastle. 0-0, you can say not the most eventful game. Newcastle only had a shot on target. But on the whole, I think when you look at the two teams, you can see they're both building, they're both playing good football now. Just looking at the lineups, there's a ton of quality in both teams. So I think they'll be finishing close to each other this season and definitely inside the top 10 places.
Yeah, I'd hope so, because I really do rate. They've got two really good managers, Graham Potter and Eddie Howe. The top quality young English managers coming up. I really do rate them. They've brought in some good signings, particularly from Newcastle's perspective. You look at Nick Pope, he really at times kept them in this game, made some wonder saves, brilliant goalkeeping masterclass, you could say, from Nick Pope. Robert Sanchez in the Brighton goal played really well as well, very commanding and dominating of his area. So I think it's going to be a very good season. I think you look at those two teams and you'd expect a top 10 finish at the minimum. Brighton have done really well to lose Bissouma, lose Cucurella, and still be able to bring in players that balance their team out. So I think that they played quite well. I think a draw was a fair result. But yeah, hopefully going forward they'll they'll continue to progress and continue to push on, and like I say, a top 10 finish would be a very respectable and admirable finish for them this season.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't think there's too much to say on either team, so we'll move on to Man City, Bournemouth. I need to say Man City, Brighton then. Man City, Bournemouth. Bournemouth have kind of been, before the season started, people saying they're the worst team in the league, they're going to go down, but their win against Villa, that kind of made everyone think twice, like, are Bournemouth going to do a job this season? But you look at their team, it's not fantastic, is it? And yeah, Man City did what you'd expect today at home at the Etihad, didn't they, Damon? Like, it's not a game as a Liverpool fan you'd be too hopeful that Man City would drop points in, but there will definitely be more coming up, won't there?
It felt like last season again, when we wanted them to drop points at some point, and then like 10 minutes in, that was it. Your hopes and dreams had just been smashed to pieces. And as soon as they got the first, it was like how many really for City? I think I was surprised they only won 4-0 in the end. Was it an own goal in the second half? They didn't even score in the second half themselves, Man City. So it was expected. I'm not expecting to drop points against them. Easy win, and they move on. At least Haaland didn't score. I mean, that's some of it out of the thing. A lot of people have in their fantasy teams. I don't.
Do you see that as well with Haaland? Only 8 touches the whole game. That's pretty mental, isn't it? I saw it with Lukaku, I think, last season as well. He only made like 7 touches away at Crystal Palace.
The problem Bournemouth had was they isolated him all game, but they forgot about everyone else.
Yeah,
yeah,
quite accurate.
Thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's the thing, they kind of took him out of the game, and then you still got like Mahrez, Phil Foden, Gundogan, De Bruyne, all these world-class players still. And people saying, "Oh, I think having Haaland in that team is going to disrupt their rhythm, stop their flow." But in reality, days like this are going to come where everyone puts their eggs in one basket and forget about the others.
Yeah, without a doubt. That Manchester City performance was clinical. It was a very top quality performance by that City side. It's a type of performance that, as Liverpool fans, we'd have hoped against Fulham, a promoted side, a team that are basically yo-yo clubs that are guaranteed to go straight back down, that haven't really brought in quality players as yet. That's the performance that we wanted against Fulham that we didn't get. But Manchester City have just got quality and depth. You could take off their entire starting 11. They could all get injured and they'd still challenge for a league title. That team is just phenomenal. No surprises whatsoever. Not one bit. But yeah, I think Man City, I do think you talked about putting all their eggs in one basket with Haaland, and that's what Bournemouth did. I do think Manchester City have done that in signing Haaland. I think they're risking it because of the goals they're going to lack in total with Raheem Sterling gone, with Gabriel Jesus gone. They're putting a lot of weight on his shoulders, and it's been well publicised his injury history. So 1 or 2 injuries, little niggles here and there, Manchester City could struggle, hopefully, and we'll win the league. But it's one of those performances that you just expect from Manchester City. You don't really expect anything less.
You look at their bench as well, actually. Like, they often, people say, pundits, especially in the media, say, "Oh, how much City have a good squad depth." But you look at their bench, they got Wilson, Isbrand, Lewis, Mbete, Delap, and then you've got Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, Grealish, Stones, and then Ortega, who we've never heard of before. So it's not really full of this quality that maybe going back a season or 2 ago, you would go, Man City undoubtedly have that sort of player in each position. Maybe they don't this season. I think Damon's just gone there.
Yeah.
Oh, he's there.
Sorry.
Like you turned out. Oh, yeah. Did you hear what I was saying then?
Yeah. Well, they've bought Haaland in to win the Champions League, haven't they? I think that's what they've done. I think it's coming to get your goals, but they don't need him in the league. We saw that last season. We saw the season before that. They get enough goals and points to secure the league every year. So they don't need Haaland for that. They brought Haaland in for those game-changing moments in the Champions League. Someone where they're relying on someone to get a goal out of nothing, struggling to get past the team in Champions League, like even like the Lille and like 3 seasons ago against Lille, where they got knocked out, and Real Madrid last season. That's why they brought Ireland for, not because of the Premier League. Premier League is just probably a bonus to them in terms of Ireland, because everyone else can chip in, as we saw today. They don't need Ireland in the Premier League. Like I said, Champions League, if they still win Champions League with Ireland, then I don't think they'll ever win it.
Yeah, Haaland, he's a big player for the big moments, isn't he? And that's the reason why City want him. They haven't got their Champions League. And at this point, the rate they're spending, you kind of have to think it's a matter of time, unfortunately. From a league perspective, I predicted City to win the league before the start of the season. And now I still do think they will go on and win it. I hate to be pessimistic, but like even after Community Shield, as some fans were saying, "Oh, City aren't going to be out here this year," but they're just unreal, aren't they? Every single week, and even last week, West Ham, a team who you would get back to go and get points off City at home, they just look totally out of it, and City just outclass them. So, yeah, it's just it's not nice to see already this early in the season. And Tino, do you think City are going to be this massive force? Like, in my opinion, only an injury crisis can really save the other teams now.
Yes and no. City are always going to dominate the league. Us as City always are. It's just a given. The other teams are so far behind, not just in playing squad, but in structures of the clubs, and in the way, the style, the managers. They're not at Pep and Jurgen's levels yet. No, nowhere near for me. But having said that, I do think it's not going to be as dominated as it has been, as nailed on as it has been, with everybody not really thinking Liverpool will get there at the end of the season. That will be 1 or 2 points behind, thinking it's going to be a bit of a bigger gap. I do think Manchester City will struggle, especially if they are going all out for the Champions League. I think they'll start to make changes. They certainly can drop points. We've seen that in the last couple of years. I think they lost 3 games last season, drew and drew quite a number as well. So they certainly can drop points. They can get a bit complacent at times, but they are certainly going to still dominate 95% of the league. It's just how it goes when you've got basically a country backing you. So it's one of those. I think it's guaranteed that they'll challenge, but I don't know. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Liverpool will be able to put a decent fight up to at least make it interesting come the end of the season.
A lot's been mentioned about the World Cup as well, because I think that will have a massive bearing on who wins it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Liverpool have that the least amount of players going to the World Cup. So, Dame, do you think that will have a big effect on the rest of the season?
Oh, definitely, because it's the fitness in it, especially that time of the year. That's where you're in mid-season. That's where you're the tiredest you are in the season, and that's where it could hurt Man City, because your likes of Kevin De Bruyne, they're going to go late in the World Cup. With Belgium, and we've got Mohamed Salah, that's not even there. So, that could be a massive thing. That could be a massive thing, especially with the players they've got in the teams that they're playing for. Like you got Ruben Dias for Portugal. You've got who else they got? trying to think of the. I was like Edison. Yeah. If he plays, I don't know if Edison or Alisson plays, but Brazil's going to go late. Either way, these international teams are going to go late. These players that they've got, they're going to go late. Like Cancelo, another one to Portugal. So exactly. So we've got a few hit and misses. I think Henderson is you don't know if he's even going to make the England squad, do you? So that's. Apart from Thiago's being sort of phased out of the Spain teams, he's not even going to play much either. So I think
we had about that, wouldn't you, with Thiago, considering the injuries he's had.
We need it because he barely gets in that Spain team these days because of the Pedri, Gavi, and your Busquets is getting moved out of that team, which is good for us because I've seen it before when players retire from international football, it only suits the club better because they're playing less games. And this year, the World Cup's come at a good time for us. I know we don't want the World Cup in December, November, and it's all about money. But if it benefits Liverpool, then how can we complain?
That is true. Everything that benefits us, and we kind of do need it because all the injuries that the young Klopp squad have picked up so far is pretty shocking. And look, we will move on to Liverpool at the end. I don't want to go on it too
Who?
just yet, but yeah, all the injuries: Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jota, Ramsey, so many, too many to even name. Matip, Kanate. I'm probably missing a few there as well.
Yep.
But then I think that's all the. Oh no, we're missing one 3 o'clock game. Wolves against Fulham, another 0-0. Two teams who obviously Fulham drew with Liverpool last week, got a really, really good result. Mitrovic, very, very eventful today once again. Missed the penalty and then arguably should have been sent off. Tino, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, he definitely should have left. Like, he definitely should have left the pitch. It was an easy red card. I don't know how the referee and VAR didn't do anything about it. The penalty saved by Jose Sarr as well. Just a very eventful last half. So I think it's a different ball game for Fulham when they're at home, when they're comfortable at Craven Cottage. I think it's a different ball game going away from home. But they still showed that fight, that determination, that aggressiveness that they did at Liverpool against us. But they just couldn't get there, just couldn't get it quite over the line. Wolves need a striker, if I'm being brutally honest. Jimenez injured. Huang, I think his name is, looked okay. They signed that Portuguese guy, Guedes, or however you pronounce his name. But he's played a lot on the wing. He came on and played up top when he did today. I don't know if Jimenez doesn't come back soon. I don't know where they get the goals from. And I think they could start slipping further down the table. I don't necessarily think they'll be near the relegation zone. I think they'll start slipping further down the table if they don't really try and rectify it or do something about it. It could be a difficult season for Wolves.
When you look at a starting 11, though, now it's like Gibbs White. He's all right, isn't he? Podence, okay player. Pedro Neto, he's pretty good, to be fair. Wang, not brilliant. You look at their team, considering the team they had when they were promoted with Diogo Jota, Raul Jimenez, Adama Traore, like loads of really, really good players. Like nowadays, their squad just looks a bit dated, doesn't it? Ruben Neves, older now, and just kind of hasn't lived up to the hyper expectation. So, yeah, for Wolves, it is a massive concern.
Well, they've had the same, as like you said, they've had pretty much the same group of players for like a few years now. I mean, they keep adding in, they keep replacing, like, Jota went, they had to replace him. But the likes of Matino and Ruben Neves, they've been there for a long time. I thought Ruben Neves going to a bigger club at this point, to be honest. He is better than Wolves, unfortunately for Wolves. But regarding Fulham, I think we're seeing in the space of a week what Alexander Mitrovic is about. Because last week, it was just an absolute terror to play against. I mean, the fact that he went round Van Dijk says everything, and he's got 2 goals. And this week is at the news again, but the wrong side of the news. I mean, to miss a penalty and then go and do what he did is just stupid. That's why Mitrovic is at a club like Fulham, because he can't get out of his game. He can't get out of his game at all. It reminds me of Kevin Davis. He did enough goals and did enough for the team in terms of that, but when you have to rely on him to really just calm down, he can't do it. And as much as his goals might keep him up, his petulance might get him down, which is, they need to sort that out, really.
He's an experienced guy, isn't he? It's like, why is he doing this? And it's a shame for Liverpool that he couldn't have done what he did today. Last week missing that penalty and then nearly go and get himself sent off. So it is a disappointment there. But yeah, it's just really, really strange with Mitrovic. And there's definitely a player there. It's just, how do they perfect it and get him to show it? Because I think he's got 4 red cards now in his Premier League career. It's like, when do you learn? When do you kind of understand, right, I can't be going out doing these stupid things? And yeah, it just seems like he's not going to learn now this late in his career. So yeah, like, it is not good for him. But like, good point for both sides, I think, this early in the season. Fulham, after the point against Liverpool, I don't think they'll mind it too much. Wolves, maybe they'll think at home they should have gone and got the other 2 points as well, the win. But then the 12:30 game, Frank Lampard against Steven Gerrard, massive rivalry back in the day. It feels so weird saying back in the day to that. Remember it like it was yesterday, but yeah, it's Villa came out on top, of course, against Everton. It was a pretty good game, to be fair, wasn't it? And you saw Villa 2-0 up, and then straight after Everton go up the other end and score nearly in the end, equalise the game. So yeah, Tino, what do you think of the game as a whole? And then kind of picking out players, who do you think really impressed? Because Coutinho, another player who I think he's underwhelmed for Villa. I don't think he's lived up to the hype. And yeah, today he picked up an injury, didn't he?
Yeah, I do think losing Coutinho is going to be a big loss, although it probably, if I'm honest, I think we put too much expectation on him. We look at the Coutinho that Liverpool had and expect to see that when he's a little bit older, he's gone to Barcelona and Bayern, and it hasn't really worked out probably the way he'd hope to, and now he's at Villa. And the way he plays has stayed the same, but his effectiveness has maybe just dropped ever so slightly. But still in that Villa side, he's a top player. But the player I look at from that performance, from that Villa side particularly, is Danny Ings. Obviously I think he gets the goal today, and he's just a phenomenal, a very, very good player. He works hard, he grafts, and the partnership he's now got with Watkins seems to be, at least on the basis of today's performance, seems to be working quite well. So I think Steven Gerrard will be hoping going forward that he'll be able to maintain that over the season. For me, it's a big season for Steven Gerrard coming into this Villa side. A lot of good signings, a lot of big players coming in, and a fair few changes. And if it don't work out, one or two losses on the bounce, I think that Villa owners could potentially look at it and think, do we need a change here? I think it's way too early at this stage, but it is a big season for him. Everton is just laughable, isn't it? It's just one of those really funny, just amazingly spectacular things that I don't think I ever expected. Like, you look at Everton and you think they aren't going to be relegation candidates, but they are going to be like maybe mid-table, but they're never going to push Champions League or European football, even though they seem to have this hyperinflated expectations from their fan base. And it's just going wrong. Like, poor managerial appointment after poor managerial appointment, and they look at Lampard and they got behind him at the back end of last season, and you think maybe this is a time that they start turning it round, and it's not working, is it? It's still very early in the season, but he's already on the back foot, which is as a manager in a team who only just survived relegation last season. It's really not what you want.
When you look at Diego Carlos as well, Damon, what do you think of him today? Because I thought he did an all right shift. But then when you look at the Everton attack, you got Damari Gray, who he's a bit hit or miss, isn't he? Anthony Gordon, same. He's got a bit of pace to him, but he's a massive diver, and you haven't seen much from him at all. Dwight McNeil, another player, Richarlison replacement, and he looks absolutely dead average. So yeah, Everton, they are missing that striker when Calvert-Lewin's not there, aren't they?
Just like Leeds with Bamford, wasn't it? I said earlier, it's such a big miss. But regarding Everton, I think they're just another club that just live off hype. I think it's down to the fans again, like Man United. They hype the players up to be the next big thing, and really just not. They're not. Pickford's got this hype because he's he's England #1 goalkeeper. But really, when you really watch him, he's not even that good. I mean, the fact that Southgate thinks he's good tells you nothing, because he picks Mings every week. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm hoping this is the season that Everton and Lampard go down, because I couldn't think of a better duo together to really suffer relegation. to see Lampard's face and the Everton fans' face, I couldn't think of a better combination, unless it was United, but that's not. I know it's a dream, but it could. In fact, double relegation. Let's say it now. Double relegation. Everton and Manchester United get down.
It's on the cards at the minute. Like, who's to say that they can't get relegated? You see newly promoted teams like Fulham. I know they drew today, but yeah, they did really, really well last week. And who's the other team that came up that's doing all right? Forest. They've been backed massively. So who's to say they're too big to go down? And yeah, but you look at the midfield for Everton as well. Iwobi in the midfield. Like, where is the balance there? It's like, it's a joke from Frank Lampard that even Tom Davies. Well, is Tom Davies much better? It just shows you all the depth that Everton have got. Alex Iwobi with the core right next to him. It's like you can just go straight through it, can't you?
Yeah. It's a very weak. I think, like you say, it goes to show how poor that midfield is when you're playing a winger in midfield. The one player in that Everton squad that I'd not necessarily take at Liverpool as a first team player, but I'd have in the squad is Onana. I think the guy they just signed from Lille, beat West Ham to. I know a couple of the other lads in the transfer room team are huge fans of him, as am I. I think he's got the potential to really go quite highly and have a very good career in the Premier League. I don't see him staying at Everton long if he kicks on the way I expect him to kick on. It's an interesting comment from Helia in the chat as well about if Everton sack Lampard, Sean Dyche to steady the ship to because he's really someone who likes to get his fingers and his whole philosophy into a team. Yes, he's very, very defensive, but I think that's really what Everton need at this stage. They need just someone to steady the ship. They need not someone who's going to play a ridiculously high attacking, amazing philosophy. They need someone who's just gonna get them back to being a mid-table club again, which I think Sean Dyche could be an interesting shout in terms if Lampard does go.
Lampard's available. I mean, he was at the wheel for a good few months, wasn't he? So, I mean, he actually steadied the ship for a little bit until they give him a new contract.
Yeah, maybe just get Ollie in.
Ollie in. Let's get it trending. LFCTR. Ollie in. Everton.
That's definitely not going to go well.
Conor Cody, though, making his debut today. An interesting one. I don't think I got your thoughts on the sign as a whole. What do you think of the sign, and what do you make of him today?
I can't take it. I can't take someone supporting Liverpool all their life. I know we had Carragher, but he did it as a young age. But I mean, to be a Liverpool fan to join Everton, it's just I can't understand it. I'd rather play for Peterborough. You know, I have morals to the game. You know, I know it's about money and things like that, and there's more to life than football. But I ain't going to Everton. I don't care how much you give me. You know, I'll be happy with £10,000 a week. You know, Brentford. You know, what I'm saying, rather than a bigger club like Everton. I didn't get it because where are Everton going? I mean, at the moment, Wolves look better than Everton. I know Everton are a bigger club and they're planning on trying to get somehow to be a big club again, you know, with a new stadium. They say, no, we're going to come back and things. But it's all false promises for Everton. It's all false promises. So if he's gone there on false promises, then that's his loss, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a really strange move, wasn't it? Just kind of never saw it happen. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously been phased out the plans, Bruno Lage at Wolves. But yeah, to go to Everton, a team obviously in the Liverpool academy growing up, and then even made senior appearances for Liverpool. So yeah, it's a really strange one. But yeah, where did Everton go from here? You look at it, 2 losses now, on the bounce. Chelsea, a hard game to kick off their season, but now Villa, game where they could get points out of. They haven't. They'll move on to the next game, of course, but yeah, it's not a great position to be in at all, is it? And are they going to find a repeat of last season? Are they going to be down there in the relegation battle?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's a given. The Villa game is really something Everton have to start to. They had to take point, even if it was just a draw. They had to get something from the game. You don't expect them to get anything in the first game of the season, like a really tough game against a decent side. But you've got to look at that Villa game, that the team, as if to say, right, we can take this to Steven Gerrard. We can really give it a go and actually take something away from the game. And they didn't. Don't get me wrong. The last 10 or 15 minutes, Everton looked like the better side. But just throughout the whole game out, it was just a bit lackluster. I was disappointed. I'd be disappointed if I was an Everton fan from that. But the Conor Cody stuff is an interesting one. Obviously, the obvious route with that is, he's a Scouser going back to Liverpool, closer to his family. I understand it from that point of view. I kind of understand it from the Wolves' point of view, wanting to phase into a back four rather than a back five. Everton want to transition into a back five rather than a back four, based on what Lampard's done so far this season. But out of all the players to get that, he's a good player, a quality player, done well when he's a leader, a captain, someone who's captain in the Liverpool academy. And if you want that in your team, that's brilliant to get. But if you're looking at future planning, 29 years old, 2 or 3 years' time, he's going to be on the floor back in the Championship. I just feel like the planning short term to try and claw the way out of it, rather than thinking about the long term future of the club.
Maybe they're planning to play Championship already.
Maybe that's them planning. Maybe that's them thinking, covering their bets, almost as if they do go down, they've got a quality centre half who can do a very, very good job in this Championship. I don't know. It's good from a Liverpool perspective, because I like to see United and Everton struggle, but it's odd managerial choices, odd player choices. It's just very, very strange. It's not something that I would have expected from a side like Everton.
100%, definitely. And yeah, make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you aren't already. Go check out the Instagram, Twitter as well. Only on podcasts on Spotify. So yeah, if you haven't done that already, make sure you go and do it now. Be really, really appreciated. But now we'll move on to Liverpool. Team, obviously, last week didn't go to plan, but we're back again Monday night. A bit of a nuisance having a game on Monday, isn't it? It always feels like the weekend's kind of gone and then it reaches us. But yeah, what are we thinking? Obviously, Matip, Kanate look to be ruled out. So it's going to be Gomez, Van Dijk. Do you have trust in Joe Gomez?
Yeah. You got to. I think you got to. Gomez, before his injury, was probably up there with Van Dijk, was one of the best centre-backs in the league. I mean, he was definitely the best England centre-back before he got injured. I think I trust anyone with Van Dijk. I think I trust Klopp that back there with Van Dijk. You know what I'm saying? Van Dijk's just that good. It's not like, I know it's a bit disrespectful to Palace, but it's not like we're playing Man City. Then I'll start to worry, if that makes sense. With Palace, I think it's a time now we need to bounce back and quick. I mean, coming out of the blocks quick, because last week our first half was just drab, absolutely drab, and we can't come out of the blocks like that. It's a strange thing to see Liverpool do, because Liverpool are known for coming out of the blocks. Even ever since the Brendan Rodgers era, we blew teams away in the first half, and the same with Klopp. They play that heavy metal football, we blow teams away, and I expected that last week, and we didn't get it. We just sort of stuttered into the match like we'd not played a game before, and it was very strange. And Fulham took full advantage of that. We can't do that this week. We need to be on it from minute one. First like 5 minutes, we need to be putting these tackles in. Whether we score or not in the first 30 minutes, but we still need to perform. We still need to put tackles in. We need to show what we're about. We need to play at a high tempo, and it's a chance for Klopp to really make a statement now, because if we go on to not win this game, could that be title gone already? I mean, it's mad to say, but it's a huge game. If we drop points, it's massive.
It really is when Man City are playing so well. Tino, have you seen this comment here? Do you agree with it? Look, Gomez can make a mistake. He has got a mistake in him. He's not the best in the air. So is the comment a million miles off?
Yes, if I'm being brutally honest. I really rate Joe Gomez. I really, really do rate Joe Gomez. I think people miss, like, back when we won the league and the Champions League, Joe Gomez was a rock. Joe Gomez was phenomenal. You look at the partnership. I saw a stat on Twitter today about the partnership with him and Van Dijk. 19 games, 17 wins, 13 clean sheets, and 6 goals conceded, which is a phenomenal record. And I think people miss that. People see his performances at right back when Trent's been out, or in cup games, and they think, and people are very, I think fans in general are very, at times, quite fickle and quite reactionary at times. I think people miss the fact that Joe Gomez was a quality. For me, he is England's best centre-half, best defender, period. There's nobody else for me that comes close to him in English. For England, I don't see anybody. The issue he's had is injuries. You look at the stat, very important, very key stat: 645 days since Gomez and Van Dijk last played together in a starting lineup, which is unbelievable. But it's not been. If it was muscle injuries, I'd be like, fair enough. Constant muscle injuries here and there, fitness issues, but it's not. It's just been very, very, very unlucky. A lot of really big injuries that have taken its toll on his knee, his ankle, and he's missed a chunk of games. It's not been like little hamstring injuries or calf injuries. It's been long-term injuries where he's been out for 2, 3, 4 months, if not longer. And it's about getting back to that fitness. And I think he's a player who needs consistent game time. He's very much like Oxlade-Chamberlain to a certain extent. He needs a run of games to get into the rhythm of things. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to get that game time and to get back to his peak, and really put a message out to Matip, and really put a message out to Konate to say, I'm back in this side. This is my centre-back partnership that you've got to break in now. This is him laying down a challenge to him. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to the game as well, so I'm really hoping he plays well and we get a good performance and a reaction in comparison to the Fulham game. But yeah, it's certainly a big game. A lot of injuries, a lot of midfield discussion. I know you talked about earlier on this week on Thursday. I think it was the midfield debate about Naby Keita and whether he plays and who our best midfield is. There's so many different variations we now can do in that midfield that really puts us in a good spot despite the injuries. So I'm quite confident. I'm looking forward to it, and hoping, really hoping that we get at least a good performance and a win.
People forget with Joe Gomez as well that he's a centre half. I know he's played a lot of right back, but that's not his natural position. Centre half and next to Van Dijk, that's where he's at his best. And he hasn't had many opportunities in big games next to Van Dijk in Premier League games at least. So, like, to have that opportunity again, don't get me wrong, he could disappoint. He might not be totally up to it. He hasn't played in quite a while, maybe not totally match fit, but just to have that opportunity. And yeah, you don't know how long-term Matip or Konate are. You don't know whether Matip will be back for Old Trafford. So you might be seeing Joe Gomez and Van Dijk at Old Trafford on a week, Monday. Seth van der Berg, Nat Phillips, also going to be the backup, which is pretty mental and pretty lucky for the club that they haven't loaned them out already or sold them. But yeah, I think we will go back onto Man United because it's such a big topping point. And also, we are going to do Liverpool versus Crystal Palace preview tomorrow night, so we don't want to give it too much away. Yeah, just going back onto Man United, a bit more time to kind of digest what's happened now. Are problems as bad as they seem still? And that sounds a stupid question to an extent, but when you look at it, a few players there, still time in the transfer window. to get more players in. Is it really crisis for Man United?
Yeah. Just because of who's in charge and who's doing the transfer business. Because at the end of the day, there's no good saying, "Oh, we'll bring players in. I've just seen like Eric Ten Hag saying, we want new signings. We're going to get them in. We're going to do all we can to convince them to join. Who are you getting in, Rabiot? I mean, come on, and Artovic. I don't know if they're playing FIFA 16 still or FIFA. I don't know. They need to get the new FIFA anyway when it comes out because Rabiot's not the guy, and Artovic is no longer the guy. I mean, this is why they're in crisis because, like I said, it's down to the fans. It's down to the fans. Next week, we're going to see if they are true to their word and empty Old Trafford the way Etihad is every week. So let's just see what happens. And what the thing is with the fans is they'll do that one week and then the week after they're back on it again. You know, this is why the Glazers, they're laughing at them. They're saying, "Oh, you've emptied Old Trafford this week, but you're back at Superstar buying our new green shirt, which basically looks like the pitch." You know, it's almost laughable at this point. Well, I've seen Liverpool fans saying, "I feel sorry for Man United fans." No, I don't know who feels sorry for Man United fans. I do not feel one bit of sorry. I'm ashamed that we've got owners like that in this Premier League, and we shouldn't have owners like that in Premier League. But I am not sorry for the Man United fans. They bring it on themselves.
And when you talk about the protest next week, like I think it's really, really deep when you think about it because a lot of fans traveling 3-4 hours to get to the game. My cousin's one of them. He's a season ticket holder. He's talking to me earlier and he's saying, "What do I do?" Because he wants to do this protest, but he's saying only probably 1,000 people are going to do it. And if 1,000 people do it, is that going to make a difference? Spending the money on travel, food, going to the game, taking the time to drive there and back. Fans like that, and especially when there's so many tourists as well, who, like, from the point of view of them, this might be the only United game they're ever going to go to. They might never have been to a game before. Are you really going to walk out because of the ownership, and do they care that much? And that's the questions that they face. Tino, what are your thoughts on all that? And do you have any sympathy for any United fans?
No, I don't have sympathy for them. They're kind of, I agree with Damon to a certain extent. I think they've brought it on themselves. Like they've been lauding it up for years, taking the mick of us and other teams in the Premier League when they were at the top under Fergie. And now it's really nice to sit back and see us at the top and United fans just going downhill. It is really nice to sit back and see that because, like I say, they've given it all this, and you look, and it's just it's brilliant to see. I don't know. You look at protest when Liverpool protest about ticket prices when we all when everybody walked out. There was a heck of a lot of people walking out, and if you're going to protest, you've got to do it in full, and you've got to get a huge backing because if you don't, it's just going to look sad and pathetic. And
you got to be consistent as well. No good doing it when next week and then the week after you're back at Old Trafford again, singing United. You know what I'm saying? You got to be consistent with it. Otherwise, they're just laughing at you.
Yeah, you have to be between supporting the team and then like going against the owners because at the same time, as much as United hate their owners, they still want to support their players.
Oh, those players deserve walking out as well. To be honest, if you're going to go that, it's not like they're trying on the pitch as well.
Those players aren't good enough. Yeah, those players definitely aren't good enough. There is that fine balance between protesting and between getting your point across, and you can do that. But having a selection of fans walk out at a game, if you don't do it full, if you don't do it with your all, it's not going to achieve anything. It's just going to look sad and pathetic. Which United really looks sad and pathetic quite a lot nowadays. So, but that United team is not good enough. There's some of those players in that squad, well, most of those players in that squad that you look at and think aren't good enough to play for Manchester United. You look at Ronaldo, their top scorer, all the issues that they had with him in pre-season and him not really caring, wanting to move. And as much as he was the top scorer last season, 24 goals in all competitions, for me, you've got to be ruthless to a certain extent as a manager. You've got to be, you don't want that. It was a stupid decision bringing him in the first place anyways, but you've got to be ruthless when you've got such an ego and such a disruption in the dressing room. You've got to sit there and go, I need to get that out, irrespective of who he is, what he's done for the club, past and present, how good a player he is, or how good a player you think he is or he used to be. You've got to be ruthless as a manager, especially if you want to stamp your foot on the team and make sure they play the way you want them to play. You're not getting any work rate from Ronaldo. You're not getting any desire to track back, and all you're getting is, yes, that predatory instinct, that world-class predatory instinct. But at this point, United can't afford to have him in the team because all he provides is a tap-in every now and again when they're not working hard, they're not creating those chances. So you need
a toxic relationship, isn't it? It's a toxic relationship. If you got a partner that's going to cheat on you every 2 seconds, you don't take them back, and that's what they're doing. They're begging him to stay. Like, please don't stay. I know you cheated on me like 6 times this week, but please don't go. You know, we can make this work. It's embarrassing, and I'm loving every second of it. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, they need to be ruthless. Arteta was ruthless, and he got rid of Aubameyang. I said, enough of that. Get out. And look at them now. I mean, they can laugh at Arsenal all they want, Man United fans, but who's laughing now?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if United did go, and this is very hypothetical, like I can't see it happening now after that result, but if United went and brought in De Jong, brought in Anthony, brought in a new goalkeeper because De Gea today, and just in general nowadays is shocking. His distribution is absolutely horrendous, and even the shot stopping, what he's meant to be good at today, we saw what happened with the first goal. So yeah, if United went and brought in De Jong, Anthony, a goalkeeper, do you think they could bring it back, or is it kind of too far gone now to kind of bring it back? Is it too out of distance, Damon?
I think it depends on how Ten Hag goes about it. It's okay bringing Anthony in and bringing De Jong in, which I don't think will happen anyway. But if they did bring them in, there's no go keeping Harry Maguire as captain and keeping players like Rashford, who's just going to throw up a fit every time, and Bruno, who again is just petulant, just crying all the time. You can't have those sort of players at the club because it affects everyone else. You want a team that's going to say, look, we're grinding out this result, regardless of whether we're 2-0 down or 1-0 down. Today, United of old, and what we've seen in Liverpool and Man City in the past, being 2-0 down to Brentford today, they come back. At half time, they come back. They got someone going to grab it all by scuff the neck and said, "No, we're not doing this." But because they've got children, practical children in that dressing room, they can't somehow put that into action because they don't know how to. They'd rather blame on someone else. Maguire will come out in an interview and say, "Look, well, De Gea's fault for the first goal." You're captain of the club. You're captain of Man United, and I've never seen a worse captain in my life. I've seen some pretty bad captains, but I've never seen a worse than him. But it's funny to watch. It is funny to watch. And like I said, it depends on Ten Hag and how he goes about it. Keeping Harry Maguire as captain is not a good thing. It needs to be ruthless, like Tino said. It needs to be ruthless, whether it's getting rid of players or dropping them. I saw it today with dropping McTominay. That was a start, but it's not just one player, though, is it? At the end of the day, you got a Varane who was won Champions League 4 times on the bench, and you're playing now Harry Maguire. So
it's absolutely craziness. But I'll put a question to you guys in the chat. As things stand, where do you think United are going to finish? Carry on going the way they're going. It would be realistic here. They're not going to finish first. Are they going to finish 20th? Who knows? But yeah, put in the chat what position you think United will finish in. Tino, I'll start with you. Where do you see it happening?
As much as I'd love them to go down, I don't think it's going to happen, even though they are currently bottom of the league. I've definitely screenshotted that. The league table currently screenshotted it. United bottom of the league. I love it, Jen. I absolutely love it. I think they'd be very, very, very lucky if it continues to go the way they're going to finish top half of the Premier League. And I think that's a realistic suggestion. It's not going very well. It really shows how United are struggling, not only in terms of leaders, but also in terms of to implement Ten Hag's style and the way he wants to play, and tactically when he subs off his centre half that he bought for 50-60 million at halftime. The United players they've got aren't good enough to play the style he wants to play. So it'll get to the point where he's got to make a decision and go, do I just hold off? Do I sit deep and hold off and try and play on the counter rather than trying to play this passing, fluid style of football that he wants to play? He's got to ask himself that question because he didn't have any answers today. So I think they'll really struggle. I think if it carries on the way they're going, they're going to really struggle to finish top half of the Premier League.
And what about you, Damon?
I think they need to really look at this transfer window now. We've got a couple of weeks left of it, and I need to take a page out of Everton's book and start planning for the Championship. Being in like a Cody signing, just get ready and prepare for it now, because at least you've got a season then to get used to the Championship style of play. Enjoy.
We'd love that, wouldn't we? We would absolutely love that LFC transfer room. Yeah, I was going to say, be a bit sad to see no more derbies, but, well, is it even a derby? I think it's the biggest game in the league, but, yeah, it's not nowadays nothing more than just a historical battle. But, yeah, tonight, with the LFC transfer room, joined by Damon and Tino, I've been Owen, and, yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for Premier League or Liverpool versus Crystal Palace preview ahead of Monday night's game. So, yeah, see you guys next time. And make sure you like this video